Welcome to Go Play Esports Podcast with Christopher Turner, Go Play founder and CEO, esports coach at the Southern University Lab, and gamer. Discussions on the emergence of esports at the K-12, collegiate, and professional level. Let's go! Let's go play.
Hi, this is your host, Christopher Turner. This is another podcast episode of Go Play Esports, where we cover everything esports. You heard the intro. By now, you should know what it is and what we do here. So, just briefly, we're still, in the house due to COVID. And like I said before, I want everybody to stay safe, stay inside as much as you can. But also, let's get some exercise in. Let's move around, man. I know everybody's just in the house eating. I'm eating, and I know I should get more active, and trust me, I will. But, with that said, that's my little tidbit for the day. With that said, we're going to go ahead and get to the order of things. Esports news of the day: Nevada bets on DreamHack Masters Spring with regulator approval. The Nevada Gaming Control Board releases a notice to approve on Wednesday permitting wagers on DreamHack Masters Spring. I've covered this before when it first released that Vegas is going to dip into esports. Now they've signed on to wages for DreamHack Masters, man. I would like to ask my guest today about what he feels about this, man. But like I said, man, we're in that sports category at this time. Everybody's saying traditional sports and esports, but we're all in that mix. Anytime you have Vegas on it, and trust me, it's gonna forever grow from here. Let's drop a bomb, another bomb for DreamHack, and let's drop a bomb for Vegas getting in on this action, man. And so, that was the news for the day, but, we always have a special guest. We always have someone on that influenced the culture, and I think this guy has been in it for a long time, someone that I look towards to asking questions, not only but learning from. But without further ado, let's get to it. He was a TEDx and active speaker in gaming and youth marketing. He's formerly a head of partnership at GameStop, and now he's the leader of esports at PRG, the world's leading event technology company. Also serves as president of Esports Trade Association, advisor over Stadia Ventures and Dallas Influencers in sports entertainment. Through his diverse career in skateboarding, video production, marketing, and business development, he has a unique perspective understanding subcultures and consumer behavior. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's invite John Davidson into the show. Welcome, Dave. John.
Thank you. How are you?
I'm good, brother. How are you?
I'm doing great. I better not do much more, or that intro is going to get way too long.
Look, man, it's all good. We only have 30 minutes, but I want to cover some of those accomplishments, man. It's an impressive resume, and like myself, look like you stay busy. So with that said, I just wanted to kind of dip into some of that stuff I just covered. If you kind of give us some background on you, John.
Yeah, I started my career in really the branding, the sports world, in skateboarding. So I got sponsored when I was 14 years old. I chased that dream for a number of years. Really helped me to learn what it's like to be on the brand influencer side of things. And so it really enabled me to organically understand how brands interact with communities, that whole thing. I chased that all over the country for a number of years after high school. Had a bunch of crappy jobs from doing telemarketing, selling vacuums door to door, cell phone stores, and eventually found myself in a great spot in Washington, D.C. At an office, a tax office actually, and just a really cool culture. Not the sexiest, the most exciting industry, but the people I worked with and the way they structured what they did was amazing. And so went back to school, got my marketing degree, moved out to Dallas and helped launch and run a 3D design and animation studio. Started out in my friend's spare bedroom in his house. Was in there for the first year and then grew it to a larger team. Then I joined the agency world at the marketing arm. I was a producer, producing commercials and big campaigns for AT&T, and turned out that GameStop was a client of the marketing arm. And so I went over onto that team, and then 3 weeks on that team, GameStop hired me on full time to lead partnerships. And anybody who knows these big companies, they've got a number of things they're working on, and they're looking for anybody to take, to lead the new thing. And so my first day on the brand side at GameStop, they said, "John, we want you to figure out esports for us." And I was like, all right, that sounds like a fun challenge. And so, very blessed in that situation, had a really cool opportunity to see the space from a very unique perspective, from a company that is the connector of all things, not really the competitor from an esports perspective. Gained a ton of great relationships with people in the industry who I've remained very close to. And then when the opportunity came, I jumped over to PRG. And it's just really cool to be part of a company that is the largest in the world and number one market share, kind of the best in the world at what they do. And as I see it, it's really an opportunity to help support the gaming community. And what I mean by that is PRG has unmatched resources, unmatched capabilities, over 200 patents on event technologies. And, I have the ability to use that to leverage those capabilities and resources to make gaming experiences better for players and fans. And I get super hyped on that.
That's amazing. And before we kind of go into depth on some of those subjects, I have to ask the question, John. Well, we're on an esports show. Do you game? What do you prefer if you game, and what are you playing?
Yeah, I've always stuck with what I grew up playing, and that's Street Fighter. And, when the SNES Classic came out, what was that, a couple of years back? I really grew up playing on Super Nintendo. And actually, I grew up without a TV. So I didn't, my TV actually broke when I was 4 years old. And we didn't get it fixed until much, much later. And years later. And so I would go over to my friend's house. We'd play Super NES, and we play Street Fighter. So Ryu is my guy, and I would definitely not make it at Evo or anything like that.
Right.
But I enjoy it, and it's one of the types of things that what I've experienced with both gaming and with skateboarding is you can do more through business in the things that you enjoy sometimes than your physical ability.
Right.
And so, I'm not a super skilled FGC dude, but I do love to beat people down when I can.
That's awesome, man. The competitive nature is still there.
Exactly. Yep.
That's cool, man. And then, you and I are on the same age range, man. Some of these kids don't understand the combinations, man. They don't get it. Well, I definitely get it, man. I was a Super Nintendo kid, man. So let's, man, it's so many angles I can start with you, but I want to know where, you mentioned, the door-to-door sales. You mentioned, hustling on the grind as far as the skateboarding side of things. Where did that love for marketing come from, man? Because I have a love for marketing myself. I tell people all the time, if graphic design and the arts wasn't my skill set and I wasn't an educator, I would open up a small firm or something. It appeals to me. It speaks to me. What is it for you?
Well, it's a great question, and that's actually a unique question. I love on these podcasts when we can talk about something different, so I appreciate you asking me that. I didn't grow up around business. I didn't grow up around business. I grew up in a very small town, Reedley, California. You can look it up. It's where it's a bunch of orchards and vineyards. It's where all the fruit in the world comes from in that area. And so my mom was a teacher. My dad worked at a factory. And there's not a lot of big offices, big headquarters, agencies in that area. So I didn't grow up around it. But an interesting thing, I got to experience business through my skateboarding career. You know, like I said, from age 14, I was sponsored. And I was, back then, people weren't really sponsored. So I was the first one in my area that really had to sponsor, and then started to get a bunch more through the years. But I saw the business side of the skate shop that I got sponsored by, and I saw the business side of the rep, you know, for Globe Shoes, who started sponsoring me to give me shoes, and seeing that. And I actually, this is random, nobody even knows this about me, but I started welding in high school, and I just kind of had a knack for welding. It just came pretty easy for me, and I really enjoyed it. I'd make all these ramps and rails for my driveway when I was in welding.
That's cool, man.
But my great uncle actually held the patent on welding steel and copper together way back in World War II, and he was one of the head designers in his first space shuttle that I found out later.
Crazy.
So I guess it's it's like a genetic thing. So after high school, it really kind of hit me. I was like, oh man, I guess I need to figure out what I'm going to do. I guess I'll go to school for welding. And so I was fully thinking like, okay, I guess I'm going to be a welder. And I used to go, I went to community college 30 minutes away. It was summer school. I started going to summer school before the actual year started because my mom's a teacher and she she had me on that grind, let me tell you.
Right.
But so 30 minutes away, I had this gap of like 3 or 4 hours between classes. And so I would go over to the skate shop that I skated for. It was cool to hang out there. It was fun to watch the skate videos, watch the magazines, just talk skateboarding. Well, I always wanted to have a job there, but they wouldn't hire me because there was a conflict of interest being a sponsored rider and then, you know, being an employee. And there was this one day I went there and they were so slammed. And they said, John, do you mind just going to where the skateboard wall is in the back and help people pick out their skateboards? Like, we don't have enough people to help out. I was like, sure. And man, I didn't realize how much I knew about skateboards until I started selling them, right?
Wow.
And that's true. That's true for a lot of things. A lot of times they say, like, you learn something the first time, then you learn it again when you teach it. And
right.
So I love helping to teach and explain things because it also helps me learn it better. But, you know, skateboards have such intricacy. There's like the 1/8 of an inch on the width of a skateboard makes a big difference. The wheels, the hardness of your wheels, soft wheels or hard wheels, the trucks of the skateboard, there's different kinds. Like there's lighter ones for technical skating, and then there's ones that are heavier that grind better for skating pools and stuff like that. And I just started, you know, expelling all this information out of my mouth that I didn't even knew I had in my head. And I loved it so much. I went to the community college the next day to my counselor, and I changed all of my classes from welding to business.
Wow.
And that one day had that big of an impact. And I just really, as I started to take some classes, I just fell in love with, you know, strategy and marketing and the creativity in that.
I can see that, and so like, you know, leading into like, you know, your GameStop role, you know, were you able to use those? What were you able to use from like the skating arena, and also being in the epicenter, you know, like, you know, Dallas Fort Worth area? How did that help, like, make your job easier?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think what I took from skateboarding is understanding a niche subculture that has, you know, unique language, has unique behaviors. That's kind of a closed community, and that's the gaming community, right? And so as somebody with a brand trying to get into esports in a way that matters for the community, I